What's up, everybody? It's your boy Manny Cadet, your friendly neighborhood, professionally amateur, always tasty, non-time committing, full menu cooking dad. Whoop whoop! Here to let all you dads out there know that when it's your night to cook, you don't have to grab the phone and order takeout. A home cooked meal is only your pantry and fridge away from your kids cheering, "Dad's night! Dad's night to cook!" Whoop! And remember, if we haven't heard of it, we ain't cooking it. No fancy frill here, dads. Just plain old home cooking meals for your kids and loved ones. Now, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that bell so you know when a new video has been posted. Now, let's look into the pantry and let's start cooking. All right, so let's get started with our menu tonight. It's going to be meatloaf with whipped sweet potatoes, garlic, broccoli, and for dessert we have a homemade vanilla whipped cream with some fresh berries. Now, let's get started with the meatloaf, which will take longer. So you have all of the ingredients that you need down below in the description area. So take a moment to go get all that, because I like to have everything out before I start cooking. So once you get everything out, let's go into the pantry. Let's actually turn on the oven because it's going to take some time to preheat. So let's go into the oven and we're going to preheat the oven for 375. Preheat that oven 375, start it up, and we're gonna go into the pantry and get some of the ingredients. You're gonna need this loaf pan, this meatloaf pan. If you don't have a meatloaf pan, because this makes it easy to come out, just use a regular loaf pan. You don't have to go on out and get anything fancy. Remember, we're gonna just do some home cooked meal, okay? Let's get into this pantry. We're gonna need some crackers. Now, you know, just use those crackers that the kids didn't finish eating, that gets all caught up in, you put them in the Ziploc. So we'll need that. Remember, no fancy frills here. Some fried onions, and I think that's all we need from the pantry. And let's go into the refrigerator. You're going to need 2 pounds of ground beef, 1 pound of sausage, and I like to use a spicy sausage. Might as well grab your garlic, your minced garlic that we're going to need later on. All right, that's it. Let's go cooking. Now, this recipe sometimes calls for ketchup. If your kids don't like ketchup, don't put ketchup in it. If your kids like ketchup, put some ketchup in it. But one of the ingredients that it calls for is a sloppy Joe mix. Now, this is going to make you want to slap your mama when you taste this thing. Now, don't really slap your mama because I'm not supporting no domestic violence here. But it's going to make you want to slap her really good. So let's go and get that jar out of the pantry, because you know we all have that leftover sloppy Joe mix from when you made sloppy joes the other day. I am not being sponsored by any particular brand, so I'm just going to get a generic brand of that sloppy Joe mix, and we're going to head back on over here. Okay. Now, I've already chopped my onions. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the crackers, where we have to mash the crackers and put the crackers and the onions together. And in just a second, we're gonna come back and we're gonna have that all ready for you, okay? All right, so while we were waiting, what I did was I put my crackers into a Ziploc bag, and I put the fried onions also. I pretty much put 3/4 of the bag. I left a little few just for you can put on top as a little, you know, decorations on top of that, like garnish. And then you, with your trusty rolling pin, or if you don't have a rolling pin, just get a can of something and roll that. Oh, I almost tripped over. I haven't been drinking, I promise. And then you just can just roll it with a can until you roll that out. Now, after you get all of that out and you get your meats and your season out, let's cut over to where we're gonna do the potatoes. Now, what we're gonna do, what I did was I already put the water to boil with some salt in the pot. I put a tablespoon of salt, and I cut up the potatoes. Now, you just need to take half a potato per person. So tonight we're gonna have 4.
Wow, that's a big potato.
Yeah, they come in different sizes, but this one is jumbo, because we like sweet potatoes. But you can go from medium to large depending on your likes and tastes. So you cut the potato in half, and you don't even have to skin it, none of that. I'm gonna show you an easy trick of what you do. And we're gonna walk these over to the pot and put them into the water, the salted water, and let them boil. And you have that boil while we prepare the meat for the meatloaf. Now, here's a little trick, dads. After you've gone shopping, a lot of times they give you these little plastic bags. I usually take recycled bags because we're trying to save the earth. But if you forgot and you have to get these also can be done as your trash bag. Just put them in the sink right here. Take all your little scrap papers and everything, your your cut up vegetables, your meat packaging. So we're gonna take the sausage, and please don't forget to wash your hands before and after you deal with all of this mess here. Okay, so I've already washed my hands, so we're gonna wash our hands afterwards. So there's that pound of sausage that we have. We're gonna have a pound of ground beef. I like a 70-30 mixture, okay? So the trick about mixing meatloaf is you don't wanna over mix it. So we're gonna try to avoid that as much as we can. That's why I have all of my seasoning ready and all of that. So I really didn't touch the meat, but just get your hands washed just from the kind of. Now you know this is not a kosher meal, child. We mix the pork, we mix the ground beef. We're gonna put the eggs up in there. We got the whole farm up in this meatloaf. That's how we do it. So if you into the kosher, and you can't mix your stuff together, then this ain't the meatloaf for you. Now, like I said, I've got all the seasonings ready. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna crack my egg. And again, I'm gonna drop it into this, and then I'm gonna drop it into my little trash bag over here. And we're gonna do a quick whisk, because what we don't wanna do, we don't wanna over mix the meatloaf. Make sure there's no shells up in there. We don't wanna over mix our meatloaf. I've already diced the onion. So we're gonna add the onion. Like voila. Now we're gonna add the garlic. Now I only had a little bit of this garlic up in there, but I'm gonna scrape it out. You know what I don't like about them other shows, cooking shows? They like leave half of the bottle of stuff or half of the batter in the bowl. Like if they're making a cake, they leave like half a cake up in the thing. Take your spatula and scrape that thing out. You need all of that up in your recipe. Don't leave it. What you gonna leave half a jar for? But anyway, I need more than that, so I have 2 jars. I'll just finish that out and get some more of the garlic. You know what the ingredient called for. Now I've already mixed my season in this bowl just to give it a quick little whisk. And we're just gonna whisk it up a little bit. And we're just gonna add it to our meatloaf. Add our breadcrumbs and fried onions. I'm telling you, you're gonna slap your mama up. Use them crackers. Just use the leftover crackers. When my mom used to make meatloaf, what she used to do, she used to save the ends of the loaves of bread. You know, the parts that no one wanted to eat. But she fixed us. She's like, y'all gonna eat this somehow, some way or another. So she used to always put it into the meatloaf. Now I've already mixed my egg. And your egg is the binder, so you all know that. And I don't need to tell you all of that. Now we're gonna get all crazy up in here. But before we get all crazy up in here, I want you to open your can of Sloppy Joe mix. I'm telling you, it makes it so delicious. I'm not gonna tell you which brand I got because I'm not getting sponsored by them. Anyway, so we're gonna go in and we're gonna mix this all up. And when we get back, we're gonna load the meatloaf pan and we're gonna get it baking. All right, everyone, you should have had all your ingredients mixed for your meatloaf and then form it into your meatloaf pan. Again, if you don't have a meatloaf pan, a regular bread pan works just as well. A square pan, whatever you have. Remember, no frills here, Dad. Just put the thing in the pan. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put an indent in it. Now, if you are the type that wants the ketchup top on it, go ahead and put the ketchup top and bake it with that. I put an indentation in there so the ketchup can lay there with it. We don't do the ketchup part. Afterwards, if anyone wants ketchup, we put it on the afterwards. And then you move your meat pan into your 375 oven. I usually put it in the middle rack. And so we'll leave that in there for about 45 minutes to an hour. Now, while that's cooking up, and we'll keep an eye on our sweet potatoes, they're not quite ready yet, we are going to start on our dessert, which is a vanilla whipped cream with fresh berries. So what we will need from the pantry, we won't need anything from the pantry. Well, you do. If you want the toffee bits on top, it adds something. Remember about slapping your mama? This will make you want to slap your granddad. Anyway, by putting on the toffee bits, but we don't do the toffee bits because the whipped cream is so decadent and sweet, so we won't need that. What we do need, however, from our pantry, pantry number 1 doesn't have it, we need pantry number 2 is a vanilla pudding mix, just the instant vanilla pudding mix. Now, if you want to add chocolate chips to the top of it, that's fine too. And now in the refrigerator, we're going to get our fresh berries. Tonight we're gonna use strawberries and blueberries, but you can use raspberry, blackberry, whatever berries are in season or you feel like you can afford to get. And then we need about 16 ounces of heavy whipping cream. I'm gonna get my mixer. I will get my bowl. And then you attach, now this mixer is 150 years old, not really, but it's one of those old mixers. But like I said, if it ain't broke, why fix it? And this is old reliable, and she has not gone bad on me yet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get 16 ounces of heavy whipping cream, and we're gonna need a whole box of instant vanilla pudding, and this is just a 3-ounce box. And I usually put about a 1/4 cup of sugar in my whipped cream while I'm mixing it. And you just mix that you just put it all together, and you got a great dessert. So I'm gonna cut up my berries. I'm gonna use my blackberries, wash my blueberries, and wash my strawberries and cut them up. Put the heavy whipping cream, the sugar, the vanilla pudding, and when we get back, we'll assemble our dessert for later. Alrighty? So what you missed was we just put the whipped cream ingredients in and we whipped them. What we didn't film was my youngest, who's playing my sous chef today. He whipped up the whipped cream and added all the other ingredients while I cut the berries to assemble this delicious dessert together. So this is the consistency of what it looks like. It's a rather thick, moussey kind of whipped cream. It's not like your really wet whipped cream that you buy from the store. This is really delicious. Now, we're gonna assemble this dessert and put it back in the refrigerator until after dinner, of course. Now, I use these clear because of the presentation, but if you don't have it, you don't need to use it. I'm gonna use one of these wine glasses, if you have wine glasses, and it's just a fancy presentation. Now, the other thing about these when you're not to cook, dads, make it a special night. Have your daughters and your wives put on a pretty dress. Have your husband or your sons put on a collar shirt and make it a special occasion and make it a fancy. I mean, this is no fancy frills, but it could look like you spent a lot of time and it's a fancy meal. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little bit of the whipped cream, and like I said, it's really thick. It's a real thick, moussey kind of whipped cream. And we're just gonna line the bottom of that. And I mix my blueberries and my strawberries up together. Remember to wash your hands and wash your dishes while you're waiting for all this stuff to cook, so you can just get it out the way. Won't have somebody cooking and then having someone do the dishes at the end of the meal. Kind of like not fair, but anyway, if you wash as you go along. So you just put the glass and you put some strawberries and blueberries or blackberries, raspberries, whatever you have. Add some more of your mousse whipped cream. I call it a mousse. Most people call it whipped cream, but I say it's a mousse because it's so thick. And then we'll lay that in there, and you top it off with some more berries, and voila. Isn't that pretty? And the kids will be like, ooh, this look fancy. And when they taste it, we're like, ooh, that's nice to cook. And so you just do whatever you need. Like again, tonight I'm family of 4. So I'm just gonna make 3 more of these, put them in the refrigerator, and we're gonna work on the potatoes when we get back. All right, now it's time for the mashed sweet potatoes. Now, potatoes been cooking for a while, so what you want to do is you want to get a knife and you want to stab the potato, and if it goes through easy, like you can hear the clicking of the pot, bottom of the pot, woo, them things are done. Listen, and I checked all 4. Remember, we used 2 potatoes, we cut them in half, was half a potato for each person. So let's do an easy way of peeling these things. Remember, we didn't peel them? You don't have to. You don't have to waste your time skinning, buying a vegetable, peeling, all of that. We got an easy, remember dads, this is no frills. We got an easy way of peeling our potatoes. So what you want to do is you want to get your strainer, put it over the sink, run a little bit of cool water over it, and dump your potatoes into the strainer. Don't let that hot water pop you, because when that water pop you, you might go into convulsion. Woo! You don't want that to happen. So while the cool water is running over your potatoes, you want to take one of the potatoes, like so. And remember to keep the water running cool because you don't want to burn your hand. But you want to quickly put it over a bowl and just squeeze it from the tip of the potato. Voila! The skin just comes off. Do the next one. I'm gonna show you all of them to show you how easy. Watch, right. See? Voila, no peeling necessary. The potato just falls out of the skin. One more, look at that, another one. There you go. No skin on the potato. This one might be it's a little big, so you might have to hold it a little tauter, but there you go. Skin off, potato in. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're ready. Like I said, I always have my ingredients ready. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the butter. We want kind of like, a good 2 to 3 pats of butter, okay? So that's about, there's 1, there's 2, I know it's buttery, there's 3, and save the rest because we're gonna use the rest to cook our broccoli. Butter is at room temperature, no big deal. And then what you wanna do is you just wanna start it to be mashed. You leave the spoon out so when we have to, actually mix it with the other ingredients and start mashing with a fork. It's real easy because the potatoes are already really soft. And so you just want to keep mashing and start adding some of the other ingredients. Now, it calls for a little bit of salt, and that's just the taste. What I do is I take a pinch. What I mean is a pinch. Like if you want to pinch somebody like that, you just want to do that. But with a cooking pinch, you use these 2 fingers and your thumb. So you get it, collect it like that. That's a pinch of salt. Add that kosher salt in there. Remember, it's not a kosher meal, but we use kosher salt. And add some salt, and it's to taste. So whatever, if you want it a little salty after you taste it, like I'm not one of these people who taste something and be like, no matter what it tastes like, it's so good, and your face be look all broke. If this don't taste good, it needs a little salt, I'm gonna put some salt. I'm not gonna pretend, no pretending here. If it don't taste good, it just don't taste good. Just add some more salt or add some whatever it is. Now, we call for 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. So we're gonna add that in there and continue to mash them. You don't need a blender. You don't need any of that stuff because the potatoes are pretty soft and they're pretty hot. So they're gonna mash themselves really, really well by themselves. And then we're gonna add 2 shakes of nutmegs. Just 2 shakes. 1, 2, that's it. And then we're gonna go to our spoon and start collecting it and mixing it real well. And we're gonna transfer it into another bowl. We're gonna put some clear wrap around it, put it to the side, and then we're gonna start on our broccoli. So we'll see you in a little bit. All right, but before we start on our broccoli, we're gonna look into our meatloaf and see where that thing is. Now, this is a step that you don't have to do, but I like to do it. Now, sometimes meatloaf, if you don't put the ketchup on top, it gets a little dry. So what I like to do is, I like to take a little bit of bacon fat and brush it on top. Now, you might not have no bacon fat. What you can do is you can save your bacon grease from when you cooked it in the morning. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna lightly brush it. I'm telling you, this gives it so much flavor. Lord have mercy. I told you it's not kosher. Every animal is up in this meatloaf, child. We got the beef, we got the pork, now we got the bacon. It's a potpourri of a lot of animals up in this thing here. But I'm telling you, it gives us such a delicious, delicious flavor. So we're gonna just brush that in. And as you can see, the meatloaf is pretty much almost done. So we're gonna leave it in for another 25 minutes while we work on our broccoli. So back into our oven, and let's start on our broccoli. Now, we're gonna need a little frying pan or a saute pan, whatever you have. Again, we're not talking about no fancy things. So I just got a little bit of a saute pan here. So we're gonna turn on the stove to a nice medium high. And remember that butter that we use? What we want to do is we don't want to cook our broccoli for too long. We don't want, my son, the youngest one, doesn't like mushy broccoli. The other ones, they can be swayed to have crispier broccoli, harder broccoli. I prefer firmer broccoli, like my son does, but some of the other kids and family members, they like it a little mushier. We don't. So what you want to do is you want to get your pan, and this is the rest of the butter that we didn't use. And you want to get that butter into your pan. Like I said, scrape the thing. Don't leave like half a stick of butter up in the thing. Scrape it into the pan. All right, so that's what we're going to do, Dad. So you want to scrape all of that and use that. We're not going to just get things out of the way. So we're going to add, at this point, we're going to let it melt for a little bit. And then we're going to add our garlic. And then we're going to add our seasoning. Like I said, I already put my seasoning all together, the salt and the pepper to taste. And if you want, you can put some paprika or whatever, but you know, it's to the individual taste. So we're just gonna put about a tablespoon of garlic into our pan and let that cook and saute for a little bit. And at this point, we want the butter to get all warm and hot, so that when we add our broccoli, it's not cook the broccoli for a long time. It's kind of just sitting there for about a good 7 minutes, and then cover it, and then you're done. So what I'm going to do at this point, while my butter is melting, is I'm going to add my broccoli, and I know this is a lot, so we're just going to put that up in there. Cover the pan with the broccoli. There you go. And what I did was 2 heads of broccoli, and the 2 heads you just cut the crowns in. And I'm just gonna lightly pinch in my seasoning, salt, pepper, and if you want, you can put a little bit of paprika, but it's up to your taste. Now remember, these green vegetables, they like a little bit of salt and pepper. My son doesn't like it when it's salty. The youngest son doesn't like it when it's salty, but you know, we need flavor. So after that's done, we're gonna put 2 tablespoons of EVOO, extra virgin olive oil, and that's just going to dress it around, and that helps the butter not burn on you, okay? Because we're going to leave it sitting there for about a good 7 minutes. So we put the extra virgin olive oil, we put our seasoning, we put the garlic and the butter, and now we're going to cover it up, wait for 7 minutes, and then hopefully the meatloaf will be done, and it's going to be time to eat. See you later. All right, dads, it's almost time to eat. We've let our meatloaf sit for a little bit so all the juices collect back in themselves, and it'll be a little easier to cut. So we've got our broccoli, got our sweet mashed potatoes on, and we're about to cut a piece of meatloaf, you know, depending on the size of what someone wants, what size of meatloaf they want, and you just plate it. And there you go, voila. Plated food. We're gonna go on over here, and it's gonna be time. And this is that point where you can add your ketchup topping if you want, or if the kids want ketchup or whatever. I just usually eat it like that. It's got so much butter and flavor and stuff like that. You don't really need anything. Come on, let's go on time. All right, the table's all set. Everyone's gathered at the table. We've said a quick grace. Now we're gonna go and try. Remember, I'm telling you, I'm not pretending. If it don't taste good, I'll say, well, this might have needed a little salt, so we gotta redo that. So there's the meatloaf. You guys, adding that sloppy joe mixture. I mean, I make my own sloppy joe sauce, but we don't have time for all that. This is no fancy frills, okay? Adding that, I told you want to slap your mama. That meatloaf is juicy, flavorful, so much flavor. Let's try some of the potatoes. Woo! I just slapped my mama. That's good. I'm telling you now. You know how sometimes people like their food so much they sound like they talking while they're eating? That's gonna make you feel. That garlic broccoli is so good. If your kids do not like vegetables, try broccoli the way I just cooked it, and you'll see they'll love it. All right, let's finish up dinner. And we'll see you a little bit back for dessert. Bye, y'all. Woo, wasn't that a good dinner? Now it's time for this. Growing kids gotta eat. Well, thanks for joining us for our Dad's Mouthwatering Meatloaf. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Dad's Night to Cook.